Hello, everyone. I am back, your favorite social media manager here for Black Girl Gamers. My name is Victoria Brown, and we are still in Montreal, Canada. I am here with one of the writers for South of Midnight. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Zaire, I'm one of the writers. I've been working on the project for a couple of years now.
Yes. First of all, Hazel is a badass.
Yes, yes.
Can we talk about that, please? She is such a badass, but not just that, but she has so many layers to her
Mhm.
as a character, like the authenticity, her touching on mental health when it comes to trauma and like healing and things of that nature. Can you talk more about the character?
Yeah. Hazel's multifaceted. She ran track and field. She talks about going to like states and winning races. She's running around in the swamps. She's meeting these different creatures, and the different like traumas of the people in the region as well. Um, and so writing her character really was kind of a balance of like what do all these different things look like when put them into an interactive media, like gaming. Um, but yeah, I think the team did a really good job just bringing her to life, and trying to bring all those aspects together into one complete character that makes sense. I don't think she's like too much of anything. I think she's pretty well balanced in the way that she goes through the world.
Based off of what I heard in another interview, um, she's fresh out of high school, so she's still brand new to the world, right?
Yeah, you know, Ha- Hazel's still she's basically a kid, like a very old kid, almost an adult. But Hazel's very new to life, and that like weird space where you're like a child becoming an adult and all the weirdness that kind of comes with that. Because want to be independent, but also like, and you think you know everything, but you don't know everything.
Right.
Um, but yeah, she's fresh, and she's that comes with like the ignorance also comes with a certain amount of hopefulness and not naivete, but belief that you can do anything. And I think that's a good thing, honestly, that I think we kind of lose as we maybe get a little bit older.
Right.
But yeah, she's she looks like a baby to me. That's a little that's she's so young. And like when you go through the game and you'll see the stuff that she's dealing with, it's like, man, you would like you're gonna have to talk to somebody after this, like.
Yeah.
But it's something I really enjoyed writing.
Can you talk a little bit more about like what it means to make sure that other characters that's surrounded by Hazel really gets a little bit more love too, not just the main character?
Yeah, I mean, I think every character is designed with intentionality. When if you see their silhouette, you'd be like, "That's so and so." And I think also coming up with their backstories, and they're not necessarily on screen for a ton of time, but the time that they are on screen for is very impactful. We want to empathize with them. We want to feel their pain. We want to feel their anger. I think that's just how you are treating a side character. It's just like we're not gonna play them for however many hours midnight is, but they are a part of the game and they are an integral part of the story. And so you want to have them feel just as fleshed out. So like, what's their backstory? Where did they begin? Where are they now? Maybe what does it look like in between?
I wanted to get your point of view related to making sure that this game is developed in an honest way without there being any type of stereotypes or misrepresentation of different characters, things like that. Because when I first saw the game, I was like, so as a girl from Georgia, I was like, all right, we going deep south. Cool. This is going to be really interesting. But um, so far so good. Like y'all really nailed it on the head. But I wanted to get your perspective on that.
Any project of this magnitude is going to be a group effort. And also when the people at the head of your project also want to be authentic, they don't want to go with like their own preconceived notions maybe about a culture that they don't necessarily know much about or haven't experienced. And so that's where like collaboration comes in. That's where, going on research trips down to the South went. And they visited several towns and different places because the game doesn't take place in like an actual. We never say like, oh, it's in this state. It's like a conglomeration of southern locales and like locations. But I think that authenticity comes from, art really doing their research on like, you know, African American art from say like the 19 whatevers. What kind of people were engaging in art then? What kind of movements were happening? How do we model our art after that? It's not a monolith, so I'm not comfortable being like, this is how Black people from the South act, or this is how Black people from anywhere act, because there's different types of people like a lot of different things. But we wanted to give it just that air of authenticity, and I think that just comes from being like really intentional from the start, about, hey, this isn't my area of expertise, so I'm going to go to people who it is their area of expertise. So I think that's what the most important part is.
When doing the storytelling, do you see parts of yourself in Hazel?
Hazel reminds me of my little sister in some ways, especially because she's younger than me. But the experience definitely came from like, was sitting underneath like my grandfather telling stories, my grandmother telling stories from living in the South, and like what that was like, especially like back when they were younger. But yeah, I think writing often has a little bit of yourself in it. I won't say like every time, but I do think because of the nature of the story, I do think I had to pull from my own experience, with like using AAVE, helping with like, hey, this is maybe what Hazel's hair could look like those kind of options. And everyone was receptive to those kind of things. But yeah, I think I definitely put some of myself in Hazel. But she's very firmly like her own character. It's just like, bits and pieces. But it's I think she'll be recognizable to a lot of people. At least that's my hope. I really hope that like someone says, oh, that reminds me of my cousin, or like you said, with like some of the other characters, they remind me of people that I know. And I think people will be like, oh, I have someone like that in my life too. And I think that's also really important to, even if it's not the main character, it's like, oh, this person who plays like a relatively small role in the world still feels fleshed out and still feels like someone that like I've had lunch with, or someone who's like cooked me a sandwich, like
Right.
that kind of thing. And I think the team made everyone feel like that. Is just like this is someone that like we've come across in our life, and I think that's really cool.
Meeting with the voice actor and the mocap actor, like there's so much different perspectives that's dumped into this project,
Yeah.
but with intention.
Yeah.
Um,
And even they said the same thing. Like they ran track. They're like, oh, like that's part of what spoke to me is like I also went to States, and like, our mocap actor, she grew up in Mississippi, so I was like, I think she's like, oh, it felt at times like I was playing 17-year-old me, and I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. Is I would love for someone older to look back, to like see Hazel and like be looking back fondly on their youth and be like, oh, this reminds me of running around in the swamps, because I used to run around my grandparents in the summers and like in the forest and stuff. So that's kind of what I want is people to kind of re-experience that and be like, oh, this is I see myself in this, and that's not something that I think we get to see often in this, especially in this very specific location, like in the South,
right.
with these characters. And I'm really excited. Like I'm very, very excited for that.
Same. Because I don't know any other game that's Deep South outside of like Western style, but this is like a completely different ball game, and I'm so excited for everybody to play this game. If y'all could see what I saw today, just thank you for being a part of this project and just offering your perspective and just making sure that this is done the right way. Because I'm just so happy, y'all. I'm just really happy. I'm so excited. And especially like when little girls play and just Black women play, or Black people play in general, or just people who aren't even Black that just want to get a whole new experience to learn more about what it means to be part of Deep South.
Yeah.
Just being Southern in general.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for your time today.
Thanks for talking with me. I'm really
I
excited.
appreciate it.